Since the IEA's launch 60 years ago, the UK is a much changed and much better place. The state no longer runs vast swathes of our industry, and we are wealthier and healthier than ever before. But this progress masks a disturbing long-term trend, a trend in which politicians and bureaucrats have more control over our economy, our society, our lives than ever before. Big government is creating big problems.
Our state spending is enormously high in historical terms, at almost 50% of our national income. And despite the rhetoric, the government's debt is actually rising, not falling, whilst ever-increasing legislation and regulation stifles enterprise and our economy.
Our health service is in critical condition.
The NHS is revered, yet there have been thousands of needless deaths in England's worst health trusts. In the UK, we have more avoidable deaths from cancer and heart disease than in other developed countries. And privatisation is regularly blamed for a decline in standards. Yet private firms account for only 6% of NHS activity, much lower than in other countries that produce much better outcomes.
Our education system gets low marks.
Even though our spending is much higher than average, numeracy and literacy levels are disappointingly low. Nearly 20% of teenagers leaving state schools are functionally illiterate, and pupils from poor socioeconomic backgrounds perform particularly badly by international standards.
Our welfare is in a state.
The past 60 years have seen an explosion in welfare spending. Expenditure on welfare, health and education now accounts for nearly 2/3 of overall state spending. And successive governments have made huge pensions and healthcare commitments without putting a penny aside to meet them, and leaving future generations to pick up the bill.
The country is being choked by red tape and regulation.
Take the UK tax code. It's 62 times longer than in Hong Kong, and our regulations on land use are suffocating development, driving up housing costs by as much as 40%.
Taxes are high, the cost of living is high, and government debt is higher still.
The UK has only run a budget surplus in 8 of the past 60 years, and government debt, the debt our government is leaving to future generations, now stands at £1.5 trillion.
The government has become just too big.
The sheer scope of government activities means it often resembles the unwieldy and unsustainable conglomerates of the past. It's too centralised and too complex to manage effectively, and ultimately it does so much that it erodes independence and responsibility for both families and individuals.
And that's not good for the country.
It means the government holds a virtual monopoly of the most important public services, stifling efficiency and innovation, and lacking accountability.
Poor outcomes in public services, irksome regulation of our lifestyles, gross mismanagement by government departments. It's time for a fundamental reassessment of what government does. Time to map out a better future. Time for the Paragon Initiative. Over the next 5 years, the Paragon Initiative will
put every area of government activity under the microscope,
analyse the failures of current policies,
identify what government should and should not be doing,
and outline the areas of government activity that can be put back in the hands of individuals, families, civil society, local government, charities and markets.
And this is no theoretical exercise. The Paragon Initiative is the most comprehensive project ever undertaken by the IEA. It will
challenge existing orthodoxies,
put forward clear and considered solutions to the UK's problems,
identify best practice from around the world,
and provide a clear vision of a new relationship between the state and society.
But most important of all, the Paragon Initiative will create a blueprint for a better, freer future. Not just for the few, but for everyone in the UK.